Jae-hee smelled the perfume on her hand, and in an instant, she went from 900 pounds to 90 pounds. She looked in the mirror and was shocked. After calming down, Jae-hee carefully examined her appearance. Just a moment ago, she was a 900-pound woman, but now she had turned into her younger self from 20 years ago. She was confused. Because of the sudden weight loss, her underwear slipped to the floor. Jae-hee used to be a young and beautiful model. After getting married and having a daughter, she gained weight, reaching 900 pounds, often attracting strange looks from people. Her husband disliked her for being fat and ugly, and even cheated on her right in front of her. Jae-hee was devastated and planned to die with Tae-jun. She set up traps at home and signed the divorce papers. When Tae-jun came home and saw the papers, he laughed. As the curtains slowly opened, the traps were triggered. An arrow struck Tae-jun's chest and he fell to the ground. The end. Just joking. It was all Jae-hee's imagination. She saw models walking on the runway from her balcony. It reminded her of her own glorious moments when she was young. Jae-hee snapped out of it and went back to ending her miserable life. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Startled, Jae-hee hung mid-air, struggling. Just when she was about to suffocate, the ceiling couldn't hold her weight and broke. The delivery man outside kept pressing the doorbell. Jae-hee said she didn't have a delivery and told him to leave. The old man looked into the distance, planning something in his mind. Jae-hee sat back on the couch, ready to continue with her plan. Suddenly, there was a knock on the balcony door. Jae-hee was almost scared to death. The old man was hanging outside the window. It looked like he was determined to deliver the package today. There was no sender's name on the package. Fearing the old man might do something dangerous, Jae-hee took the package. After sending him away, she started taking sleeping pills, one after another. But curiosity made her open the package. Inside was a bottle of perfume. Jae-hee opened it and smelled it. She loved the scent, like she was in a garden. Suddenly the sky grew dark with clouds, lightning flashed and thunder roared. Jae-hee's stomach started hurting badly and she fainted. When she woke up, she had become a slim beauty, weighing only 90 pounds. She felt like she was dreaming. She bumped her head against the wall. The pain told her it wasn't a dream. Since it already happened, she began to admire her perfect body. Before, she was too overweight to see her own feet, but now it was easy. Just as she was enjoying herself, Tae-jun texted her, saying he'd be home in 10 minutes. Jae-hee panicked. She quickly hid the sleeping pills and destroyed the trap she had set, because now she needed to figure out why she had suddenly lost so much weight. Jae-hee took a few of her daughter's clothes and left a note saying she had something to do and went out. As soon as she got to the street, she was drawn to a beautiful dress. Even the mannequin seemed to wave at her. Things were different now, so she walked right into the store. The saleswoman praised Jae-hee's perfect figure while mocking housewives who were too fat to wear the dress. Jae-hee got furious because she was a fat housewife herself. In their struggle, Jae-hee accidentally ripped the expensive dress. When she tried to pay, she found out that Tae-jun had blocked her card. She had to leave her ID as collateral and lied, saying it was her mom's ID. Just then, Secretary Kim, a modeling agent, passed by. He noticed Jae-hee right away and invited her to join the company's fashion show. It happened that Jae-hee's lifelong dream was to be a professional model. She looked at Nana with admiration because Nana was a famous model before retiring backstage. Their boss, Yi-do, was a top fashion designer, but he suffers from hundreds of phobias. For example, when he saw someone with dark spots on their face, he imagined them spreading, and he fainted. He couldn't be around dogs, relatives, or many other things. He was even allergic to dozens of foods. Though his personality was strange, his talent was undeniable. One model accidentally ruined a show outfit, but Yi-do calmly picked up scissors and instantly created a brand new design. At that moment, Jae-hee accidentally fell to the ground. Yi-do walked over, but he wasn't worried about Jae-hee. He was more upset about the clothes. When he saw Jae-hee's face, he shouted, "Sneaky eyes, disgusting lip, dirty nose, Satan, go away." Nana felt very sorry and gave her a day's pay as compensation. But Jae-hee stayed positive and asked Nana to sign the clothes. She also asked if she could watch the rehearsal from the side. Nana agreed. During the rehearsal, the main model accidentally got injured. Nana noticed Jae-hee's body shape was similar to the model, so she asked Jae-hee to be the replacement. Even though Jae-hee only had one experience walking the runway, she wasn't nervous at all. Yi-do smiled with satisfaction. Just before the show ended, Jae-hee suddenly fainted on stage. It turned out the sleeping pills she took earlier had just kicked in. Yi-do was furious that his carefully planned fashion show was ruined. Jae-hee planned to go home and tell her daughter the truth, but she caught Tae-jun bringing his lover home. Even though her daughter tried to stop Tae-jun, it was no use. Homeless, Jae-hee had to sleep in the park. Lying on the bench, she kept cursing her ex-husband. The next day, an old lady was picking up trash in the park when she heard a loud snoring sound, like a drill. She quickly woke up Jae-hee, but Jae-hee couldn't get up for a while. She looked closely and realized her fat body was back. She thought it might all have been a dream, but when she searched for news about her fainting, it was real. Jae-hee went crazy and even broke the bench she was sitting on. Suddenly, she remembered the magic perfume from yesterday. Hoping it might work, she rushed to the restroom and put some on. Instantly, there was thunder and lightning, and Jae-hee transformed back to her slim, younger self. She realized this magic perfume might help her fix her miserable life. So, she went to find Yi-do. The video from yesterday had already spread, and working anywhere else would make her a laughingstock. She begged Yi-do to let her be a model. Yi-do played a trick to get rid of her. But later, when he was jogging, he saw Jae-hee doing a live stream outside. Jae-hee said her future was ruined by an accident, and Yi-do didn't want to take responsibility. Then she started walking toward the river. Yi-do had no choice but to agree. He took Jae-hee back home and told her to clean the house before he returned, or he'd fire her. Since Yi-do had lived in hotels for years, he was very picky about cleanliness. Even cleaning companies didn't want to deal with someone so troublesome. Yi-do thought this would make Jae-hee give up, but Jae-hee, who'd been doing housework for years, was really good at cleaning. Soon, she had cleaned everything spotless. Feeling exhausted, she sat in a chair and fell asleep. Her body slowly started to swell, stretching her clothes and even sending her bag flying several meters away. When Yi-do came home, he was shocked. He called for Jae-hee, but she was fast asleep. Yi-do opened the door and stepped onto the balcony, which woke her up. Jae-hee quickly realized she'd gained weight again. Seeing Yi-do coming closer, she panicked. Just then, Yi-do's phone rang. She quickly looked for her perfume to transform. Each transformation caused thunder and lightning, which scared Yi-do, making him crouch in fear. He slowly walked toward the balcony, thinking some strange creature had entered the house. He opened the curtains and saw Jae-hee looking messy and torn up. He poked her with a clothes hanger. Jae-hee opened her eyes and pretended she had fainted from exhaustion. After changing clothes, she told the suspicious Yi-do that she got too hot while cleaning and accidentally tore her clothes. Surprisingly, Yi-do believed her ridiculous explanation. Then, Yi-do took Jae-hee to a fancy restaurant for dinner. Since he's allergic to many ingredients, this was the only place willing to accommodate him. Jae-hee quickly mentioned she had chef certificates in various cuisines. Although she tried hard, she couldn't find a job. Yi-do felt a bit sorry for her and decided to let her try cooking for him. He wrote down everything he couldn't touch or eat due to allergies and asked her to memorize them. While filling out the personal info form, Jae-hee worried about her identity being exposed. So, she made up a fake name and looked up a random ID number online to cover herself for now. Lying in bed, Jae-hee looked at the strange bottle of perfume. She wondered what it was and who had sent it to her. Based on her last two transformations, she suspected that sleeping might trigger the change. So she locked the door, set an alarm, and decided to test it. But the guess was wrong. Then Jae-hee happily started making breakfast, only for her clothes to start tearing again. She realized the transformation lasted only 12 hours after using the perfume. Meanwhile, Yi-do was once again startled by the thunder and lightning caused by Jae-hee. After he got up, he asked her to recite the list of precautions he'd given her, and she repeated it word for word. Not only that, her cooking skills amazed him. In the end, Yi-do agreed to let Jae-hee stay temporarily. While eating, he found himself always drawn to Jae-hee's beauty. He quickly told her to go eat somewhere else, but soon he felt a little guilty. Jae-hee, however, was already used to it. Tae-jun also didn't want to eat with her. She had been eating on the balcony for 20 years. Hearing this, Yi-do fell silent, growing more curious about this woman. He secretly asked Secretary Kim to look into Jae-hee's past. That night, Jae-hee lay in bed, watching her recent runway video over and over. 20 years ago, she had been young, beautiful, and in top shape. But during one rehearsal, Jae-hee had an accident and fell. She was pregnant. In the hospital, Tae-jun proposed to her with a ring, promising to treat her well forever. Believing his words, Jae-hee gave up her dream of being a model. Now, with this magical perfume, she decided to chase her dream again. The next day, Jae-hee began planning carefully. By calculating the total amount of perfume and her daily use, she figured out it would last a year. She noticed the word death at the bottom of the bottle. She guessed she might die when the perfume was finished, but she didn't care. If she had to live forever at 900 pounds, she'd rather be dead. Now, even with only 1 year to live, she was incredibly happy. On the way to the supermarket, they found the elevator overloaded. Because of her weight, Jae-hee was the one who stepped out every time. She was about to step out again when Yi-do stopped her. Everyone's eyes were now on the chubby girl. Suddenly, Yi-do told the last person who entered to leave instead. To him, being overweight wasn't a reason to be picked on. While shopping, Jae-hee spotted her ex-husband with his mistress. Tae-jun seemed to notice her too. In a rush, Jae-hee pulled off Yi-do's mask and kissed him. Yi-do was shocked, yelling that there was a rapist, drawing everyone's attention. Jae-hee slipped away quickly. When she got home, Yi-do kicked her out. Yi-do kept brushing his teeth, even imagining Jae-hee kissing him again. When he opened the fridge, he found it packed with food Jae-hee had left for him. Feeling a bit guilty, he found Jae-hee sleeping in the park and decided to give her another chance. On their way home, Yi-do saw a Tibetan Mastiff, triggering his phobia. Jae-hee quickly picked up the dog and ran off with it. Back home, Jae-hee explained she often got strong feelings and wanted men. Yi-do jumped onto the sofa, warning her to stay away. Seeing his reaction, Jae-hee teased him jokingly. Yi-do shouted it was workplace harassment. Not wanting to be kicked out again, Jae-hee hurried back to her room. The next day, on her way to bring Yi-do his meal, Jae-hee saw her daughter. She quickly turned her head away. Jink-young didn't notice her. Jae-hee looked at the cup noodles Jink-young was holding and felt heartbroken. So she left her meal outside Jink-young's door. Seeing the familiar food, Jink-young knew right away it was from her mom. She rushed outside but didn't see her. In the company, Jae-hee accidentally bumped into a man, her idol, Min-seok. While Jae-hee was lost in admiration for him, Yi-do passed by and broke the happy moment. Feeling a bit jealous, Yi-do called Jae-hee away. Meanwhile, Secretary Kim had found a lead from the ID Jae-hee had given Yi-do. The ID's owner had been in a car accident and in a coma for 3 months and had just passed away the night before. Confused, Secretary Kim decided to ask Jae-hee about it. After Jae-hee delivered food to Yi-do, she sneaked away to spy on Min-seok again. She overheard that his car had been ransacked by obsessive fans. Inside had been a new script full of Min-seok's notes. Suddenly, Jae-hee's transformation alarm went off. She rushed to find a restroom. Secretary Kim saw Jae-hee looking flustered. He couldn't catch up to her and had to wait outside the women's restroom. Jae-hee looked at the cleaner's clothes and got a good idea. She didn't wear perfume and let herself gain weight. She planned to disguise herself as a cleaner to teach the obsessed fans a lesson. Secretary Kim was even startled by her. He waited 48 hours and couldn't take it anymore, so he burst into the women's restroom. He couldn't believe Jae-hee had disappeared. Meanwhile, Jae-hee was angrily scolding those bad girls. Afterward, she helped Min-seok recover his lost script. In return, Min-seok gently kissed her hand and said he looked forward to walking the runway with her. Jae-hee blushed and happily agreed. Soon, the chance came. One day, Nana came to visit Yi-do, but ran into Jae-hee instead. Nana, as Yi-do's ex-girlfriend, was a bit jealous, even knowing Jae-hee was only working as his nanny. When Nana calmed down a bit, Jae-hee quickly mentioned she wanted to be a model. After checking Jae-hee's figure, Nana agreed to let her join the company's audition. In the dressing room, Jae-hee saw her daughter also there for the audition. Panicking, she ran off and forgot to take her phone. Jink-young noticed the phone looked familiar, just like hers. She tried calling her mom and the phone rang right away. She quickly chased after Jae-hee. Knowing she couldn't hide it anymore, Jae-hee planned to confess, but Jink-young just gave her the phone back. The one who called just now was Yi-do. Yi-do rushed over and angrily scolded Jae-hee for not answering his calls. He already treated Jae-hee as his own property, even telling her to quit the model competition. Jae-hee wanted to argue but couldn't, as he was her boss. Just then, Nana stepped in to help, saying Jae-hee had already passed the first interview round. Afterwards, Jae-hee borrowed money from Yi-do and went to the clothing store to get her ID back. The staff told her someone had already paid and taken it. Jae-hee felt angry and scared that her secret might be exposed. Back home, she suspected Yi-do had taken it and quickly explained it was her mother's ID. But Yi-do said it wasn't him. Jae-hee also figured this stingy guy wouldn't help her pay. In fact, it was Secretary Kim who discovered her secret. A while ago, he went to the clothing store and found Jae-hee's ID card left there. Using the ID, he found a photo of Jae-hee from high school. Comparing the two photos, his belief was shattered. He even thought Jae-hee could transform like the Hulk. The next day, Secretary Kim asked Yi-do if he had noticed anything odd about Jae-hee. Yi-do said he found everything about Jae-hee strange. Secretary Kim asked if Jae-hee had ever suddenly grown bigger or smaller. Yi-do thought he was crazy. Secretary Kim also found the idea ridiculous, so he kept Jae-hee's secret to himself. During model training, Jae-hee felt heartbroken seeing her daughter all alone. She decided to become a friend Jink-young could open up to. Jink-young couldn't understand why Jae-hee was so caring. But looking at Jae-hee's gentle face, she felt an unexpected warmth. Jae-hee said she felt the same and suggested they become close friends. Jink-young agreed, and now, instead of just mother and daughter, they became like sisters. The next day, Jae-hee appeared at Tae-jun's company, holding flowers and dressed beautifully. She was there for revenge. One moment, she was a slim beauty at 90 pounds. The next, she appeared at Tae-jun's award ceremony in a 900-pound form. Jae-hee began by loudly insulting Tae-jun's mistress, leaving her speechless. Then, as Tae-jun accepted his award, Jae-hee shouted, "Husband!" and ran toward him, embarrassing him in front of his co-workers, who all laughed at him. Angry, Tae-jun asked why she came to cause trouble. Jae-hee snapped back, saying one day he would beg her. Back home, Jae-hee felt pleased just thinking of his expression. Even cleaning felt fun to her. Suddenly, she found a hidden room full of beautiful dresses. Jae-hee tried on everyone without hesitation. But she didn't know these were Yi-do's most treasured belongings. When Yi-do came home and saw this, he angrily asked why she thought she could wear them. They argued and accidentally ripped one of the dresses. Jae-hee changed, packed her bags, and left, thinking Yi-do would never forgive her. However, Yi-do was upset because Jae-hee had left. He checked the security footage and saw Jae-hee asleep in the hallway. Yi-do went to the door and tried to wake her, but she was fast asleep, so he simply dragged her inside. When he lifted her, his legs shook. Suddenly, Jae-hee pouted. Yi-do's heart raced, and he leaned in closer. He snapped back to his senses and blocked her face. To calm himself, Yi-do drank a whole bottle of wine, and soon he passed out on the balcony. The next morning, Jae-hee found herself trapped in a sleeping bag. She struggled to get out. Suddenly, an alarm went off. Jae-hee's body swelled, bursting the sleeping bag. With her mouth full of fur, she looked around, confused. She didn't know how she ended up back in the bedroom, but now she needed to find her perfume first. Jae-hee sneaked into the living room to look for her bag. After grabbing her perfume, she saw Yi-do lying on the balcony. At first, she thought he was just drunk, but soon noticed his pale face. She decided to skip the perfume for now and planned to carry Yi-do back to his room. Secretary Kim entered the room without anyone noticing. He was so frightened by the fat woman in front of him that he almost called the police. Jae-hee realized she couldn't hide the truth and decided to tell him everything. She sprayed perfume in front of Secretary Kim. After a flash of lightning and thunder, Secretary Kim stared in horror at what was happening. Jae-hee explained that this perfume made her slim and young. She asked Secretary Kim to keep her secret. Secretary Kim suspected Jae-hee was a witch using magic and told her to stay away from Yi-do. He was so shaken that he dropped the perfume. Jae-hee saw half the perfume spilled and accused Secretary Kim of being a killer. Now, with only half a bottle left, she had only half a year to live. Feeling guilty, Secretary Kim promised to keep her secret. In the following days, Jae-hee started working hard to design clothes for a photo contest. Yi-do couldn't stand her poor designs. In less than a minute, he created a fresh, creative sketch. Jae-hee was in awe. The next day, she wore Yi-do's design to the contest. After the shoot, she quickly checked the results. First place went to her daughter, Jink-young. Jae-hee smiled proudly. Then, Nana informed the models they would go on a field internship. The top two from the contest, Jink-young and Jae-hee, would join Min-seok for a photo shoot. Yi-do watched Jae-hee happily humming a song and couldn't help but smile. Then images of Jae-hee dressed elegantly in fine clothes kept flashing through his mind, inspiring him to quickly finish his latest creation. The next day, after finishing the photo shoot, Min-seok left early. Jae-hee went to the restroom to apply some perfume to stay youthful. Jin-young, curious about the scent, tried a little too. Jae-hee couldn't stop her in time, but after seeing that nothing changed for Jin-young, she relaxed. It seemed the perfume only worked for Jae-hee. Later, Min-seok met Jae-hee and Jin-young and invited them to the amusement park. At the carousel, Jae-hee and Jin-young remembered a sad memory. 10 years ago, Jae-hee's weight of 900 pounds had broken the ride, making both of them fall to the ground. Tae-jun felt embarrassed and left, ignoring his daughter's pain. Since then, neither of them had gone on a carousel. Today, they finally let go of the past. Seeing her daughter's happy smile, Jae-hee felt truly content. Since underage models needed parental permission to work, Jin-young had to ask her dad to sign. Tae-jun refused and told her to focus on her studies, so she gave up on the internship. On the balcony, she unexpectedly found some torn-up photos. She gathered the pieces and put them together, only to find the person in the picture was her best friend. Meanwhile, the models went hiking together. When they reached the top of the mountain, Jae-hee noticed her perfume's effect was about to wear off, but the perfume was missing. Then thunder started, and it began raining hard. Everyone hurried down the mountain. Only Jae-hee stayed back to find her perfume. Yi-do heard about it and quickly put on a raincoat and went to the mountain base. But he feared the deep forest and started having illusions. For Jae-hee's safety, he bravely walked into the forest. At the cliff's edge, Jae-hee finally spotted the perfume. She tried to pick it up, but slipped. Fortunately, she held onto a tree branch. Unfortunately, the perfume's effect started to wear off, and Jae-hee began to gain weight. She grabbed the perfume and then fell off the cliff. Yi-do heard her scream and rushed toward the sound. At the cliff's edge, he saw pieces of her clothing. He called out her name and searched everywhere. Luckily, Jae-hee had already returned to 90 pounds just before Yi-do arrived. He held her in his arms as the ambulance arrived in time. Yi-do anxiously waited outside while she was checked. Thankfully, Jae-hee was not in danger but had injured the ligaments in her hands. For safety, further tests were needed. The results shocked all the doctors. Although Jae-hee looked like she was in her 20s, her organs resembled those of a 60-year-old. She also had fatty liver and high blood pressure. Yi-do decided to help her lose weight by running. Since Jae-hee wanted to join a modeling agency, she had to stay in shape. On the other side, Jin-young looked at the photo and fell into deep thought. Tae-jun said it was a photo of her mom from long ago. Jin-young found it unbelievable and felt it was fate. She took the photo to Jae-hee and shared her feelings of longing. Jae-hee still didn't tell her daughter the truth. Maybe, knowing her time was short, she didn't want to make Jin-young sad. At night, Yi-do came home and found Jae-hee had been drinking heavily. Seeing she was upset, he took her to the planetarium. Yi-do had lived a lonely life since he was young. Since Jae-hee arrived, though he often said harsh things, he was slowly starting to like her. His quiet, lonely life was beginning to fall apart. The next day, Nana went to Jae-hee, asking her to move out of Yi-do's place. It turned out that Nana was Yi-do's ex-girlfriend and wanted to get back together with him. Jae-hee felt very conflicted inside. She went to the bathroom, looked at herself in the mirror and realized she couldn't stay like this forever. Nana and Yi-do were a good match. Plus, Jae-hee might not have much time left to live. That night, just as Jae-hee was about to quit, Yi-do told her she could fall for him. Jae-hee was shocked, but not because of Yi-do's words. She saw a gossip headline about her and Min-seok on the big screen outside. Yi-do instantly got jealous. Soon, this gossip spread wildly online. Wherever Jae-hee went, reporters swarmed her. It turned out that Min-seok's company had spread this gossip on purpose. Not long ago, Min-seok confessed his feelings to Nana, and the paparazzi caught it. To avoid backlash from Min-seok's fans, Jae-hee became the scapegoat. After learning the truth, Jae-hee agreed to be Min-seok's fake girlfriend for 5 months. When Jae-hee got home, she found the place in a mess. Thinking a thief might be there, she grabbed a bat and searched. She reached the closet and saw a sneaky-looking man. She carefully approached to attack him but found it was Yi-do. Jealous of the gossip about Min-seok and Jae-hee, Yi-do deliberately picked a fight. He blamed her for not cleaning and always being out. Furious, Jae-hee said she wanted to quit and move out. She also wanted to keep her promise to Nana. But Yi-do thought her decision was because of Min Seok. Just as Jae-hee was about to explain, she remembered her confidentiality agreement with Min Seok's company. She could only admit Yi-do's words were right. Yi-do was both frustrated and amused. He took out her work contract and said if she dared to quit, he'd take her to court. It turned out Jae-hee hadn't read the contract carefully when she signed it. Breaking it would cost her 10 million as a penalty. She looked at the two contracts in her hands, not sure what to do. The next day, Jae-hee showed the contract to Nana, saying she couldn't quit for now. Nana asked if she was dating Min Seok. Jae-hee could only admit it, which finally put Nana at ease. To prove their relationship was real, the company decided Jae-hee and Min Seok should start dating. They acted sweet on purpose, letting fans take pictures for publicity. Meanwhile, Yi-do secretly followed them. He felt jealous and wanted to take Jae-hee away. Suddenly, a group of fans appeared and accidentally tripped Yi-do. His feelings were a mess. He didn't know why it upset him so much to see Jae-hee with another man. At the same time, Jin-young also saw the news. She wasn't sure if she should congratulate Jae-hee or feel envious. It seemed like Jin-young liked Min Seok too. To make things worse, Tae-jun also saw Jae-hee's news. The next day, Yi-do traveled with a female model for a fashion event. Song wanted to use this chance to get closer to Yi-do. Alone at home, Jae-hee didn't need her perfume anymore. She stood in front of the mirror and thought she looked thinner and more confident. She lay on the sofa, watching Yi-do on TV, and thought he looked pretty handsome. That night, Song went to Yi-do's room with a glass bottle. Earlier, she learned from Jae-hee that Yi-do would pass out if he drank alcohol. Song poured some into his drink. Yi-do didn't notice. Her plan worked. Within minutes, he was out cold. Song took off her coat and walked toward him slowly. The next morning, Yi-do woke up and realized he was naked. Song came out in a bathrobe, shyly talking about what happened last night. Yi-do didn't believe a word. He took Song to the hospital to check. If it wasn't true, he planned to sue her. Song panicked. She saw Yi-do didn't look well and took the chance to run away. Yi-do collapsed to the ground, too weak to stand. He called Jae-hee, saying he was in pain. Jae-hee quickly put on her perfume, picked up her car keys, and sped off in her sports car. She took care of Yi-do carefully. Yi-do, half conscious, saw Jae-hee. But when he woke up, he found Nana beside him. He asked Nana if Jae-hee had been there, but Nana said no, leaving Yi-do disappointed. Actually, after making sure Yi-do was settled, Jae-hee had called Nana over. She knew there was no future with Yi-do. Meanwhile, her fake relationship with Min Seok was taking a turn. Min Seok asked her if she'd be his real girlfriend. Yi-do happened to see this scene from upstairs. Watching them get closer, he felt uncomfortable. As Jae-hee faced Min Seok's confession, she closed her eyes, unable to help herself. Suddenly, a bucket of water splashed down. It was Yi-do's doing. The next day, Min Seok confessed again over a meal with Jae-hee. To her, Min Seok was like a child, not understanding what was love. After saying goodbye, Jae-hee met her daughter, but she noticed bruises on Jin-young's face. Jae-hee asked what happened. Jin-young said she'd argued with her dad and got hurt accidentally. Jae-hee was angry. Tae-jun not only stayed out every night but also hurt their daughter. She also felt guilty for not protecting her. The modeling agency announced that the World Fashion Week would be in 4 months. It was a great chance to become a top model, but only 2 spots were available. The models had to pass the tests of 20 designers. That evening, Yi-do came home and intercepted a gift Min Seok had sent to Jae-hee. He sneaked into his room, opened the box, and found a pair of high heels and a note. After reading the note, he got even angrier and stomped on the gift, breaking it. Yi-do went to the living room, saying Jae-hee's phone was ringing. Jae-hee told him to ignore it, thinking it was just spam. But Yi-do was persistent, urging her to check the phone. He wanted to secretly see her lock screen password. Then he asked her to go out and buy some pumpkin pancakes. Back in his room with her phone, Yi-do started messaging Min Seok, pretending to be Jae-hee. He told Min Seok to stop sending gifts and to give up. Min Seok was confused, insisting he wanted Jae-hee to be his real girlfriend. Seeing the words real girlfriend, Yi-do seemed to realize something. The next day, he called Secretary Kim, asking him to investigate the relationship between Min Seok and Jae-hee. Meanwhile, Jae-hee started attending auditions, but the designers didn't seem satisfied. Maybe she was still stuck in her past of being fat. This made her lack confidence and energy. She auditioned for 5 designers, but didn't pass. Still, she didn't lose hope. She knew she had 15 more chances. Secretary Kim found out the truth and told Yi-do that Jae-hee and Min-seok were only pretending to date. While Jae-hee was training, she heard that Song had tried to take her own life. Jae-hee made porridge and went to the hospital to see her, but Song wasn't grateful and went to a bar to drink instead. Each time Song poured herself a drink, Jae-hee took it and drank it down. Soon, Jae-hee got drunk. She opened up to Song. Not long ago, she also thought about ending her life. And now all she felt was regret. She hoped Song could regain her confidence. As long as she was alive, a bright future was still waiting for her. Jae-hee's words seemed to reach Song. While Yi-do was exercising, he got a call from Jae-hee. She was drunk and wanted him to pick her up. Yi-do, annoyed, refused. Jae-hee then said she'd ask Min-seok to come instead. Yi-do panicked, quickly drove over, found Jae-hee, and took her home. The next day, Yi-do learned that Jae-hee hadn't passed her audition. He decided to find a way to help her. At the same time, Tae-jun arrived at Jae-hee's company. When he saw her, he walked over slowly. Jae-hee was startled. She suddenly remembered the bruise on her daughter's face and became furious. She turned back to her 900-pound self, pinned Tae-jun down, and started hitting him. But it was all just in her imagination. Just as Tae-jun was about to ask more, Yi-do appeared. Thinking Tae-jun was bothering Jae-hee, Yi-do called her into his office. He wanted to train Jae-hee so she could pass her audition. Jae-hee still wasn't fully relaxed. After Yi-do's feedback, she tried to adjust but ended up tripping over herself. Yi-do, with no other option, demonstrated it himself. He told Jae-hee that to be a top model, she needed to love the clothes, making them feel like part of herself. But Jae-hee seemed scared of the clothes. She thought she wasn't fit to be a model, lacked confidence, and felt no one cared about her. Yi-do, with warmth in his eyes, told her that he cared about her. He slowly leaned closer to her. Jae-hee closed her eyes, but Yi-do stopped himself, not wanting to take advantage of her. Then he wiped her tears and left. When Jae-hee got home, she found that Yi-do had bought her lots of beautiful clothes. She was thrilled. Lying in bed, she thought about everything that happened, her heart racing. The next day, Jae-hee regained her confidence. She walked the runway perfectly and won the designer's approval. After the audition, Jae-hee hurriedly ran out, and Tae-jun happened to see her. He quickly followed. Jae-hee kept checking her watch. It turned out her perfume's effect was running out. She went to a clothing store, picked an oversized outfit, and went into the fitting room. When she came out, she had returned to her original 900-pound look, only to find her ex-husband waiting. Jae-hee quickly lowered her head, trying to avoid him, but then she realized she didn't need to hide. Her eyes turned sharp and she swung her bag, rushing toward Tae-jun and hitting him hard. In the scuffle, Jae-hee accidentally fell into someone else's arms. It was Yi-do. Jae-hee felt a bit at a loss. After staring at each other for 108 seconds, she quickly ran off. But Yi-do recognized her. When he was young, Yi-do had accidentally fallen into a river. His mother was pregnant at the time. A little girl jumped into the river without hesitation and saved him. That girl was young Jae-hee. Yi-do had liked Jae-hee ever since. Later, he had to move away. Before leaving, Yi-do made a promise with Jae-hee that no matter how much time passed or where they went, they would recognize each other. Years later, Yi-do appeared in front of Jae-hee, but she didn't recognize him. However, Yi-do never forgot the promise. He recognized Jae-hee instantly. The company held a fashion week, and Tae-jun came to the event. He noticed that Jae-hee's gestures on the runway looked exactly like his ex-wife's when she was young. After the show, he stopped Jae-hee with a bouquet of flowers and tried to get information from her. Just as he was about to touch Jae-hee, Yi-do appeared and knocked him down. Jae-hee quickly stopped Yi-do and pulled him away. That night, the company threw a celebration party. Jae-hee checked her phone and realized her perfume's effect was wearing off, so she hurried to the restroom to reapply it. Suddenly, Min-seok's fan attacked her, accusing Jae-hee of seducing Min-seok and making him her boyfriend. As Jae-hee tried to pick up her perfume, the girl hit her arm. Worse, the girl threatened to pour out the perfume right in front of her. Jae-hee screamed in despair. Curious about Jae-hee's reaction, the girl sniffed the perfume. When she turned back, she saw Jae-hee transformed, now weighing nearly 900 pounds. The girl was terrified and got dragged into the restroom stall by Jae-hee. Yi-do hadn't seen Jae-hee for a while, so he went to find her. Jink Young told him Jae-hee hadn't come out since going to the restroom. When Yi-do reached the door, suddenly all the lights went out and Jae-hee started to transform. The girl panicked and ran out. Yi-do went in and found Jae-hee covered in bruises. After this incident, rumors started spreading about them. It shocked people that Min-seok's girlfriend was so close with Yi-do. To avoid reporters, Yi-do took Jae-hee to a new house. The next morning, Jae-hee looked at the sleeping Yi-do, kissed him, then shyly left. Yi-do was both surprised and happy. Soon after, Nana found them. Watching the news, Jae-hee was accused of seducing both a top star and a top designer. The scandal affected their company as well. Yi-do quickly held a press conference. He had planned to clear things up by saying Jae-hee was just his nanny, but then he remembered Min-seok's warning not to label her as just a nanny. So he simply declared that Jae-hee was his woman and that he loved her deeply. Between the company and Jae-hee, Yi-do chose Jae-hee. Jae-hee was moved to tears. After the press conference, Yi-do went straight to Jae-hee, and the two finally expressed their feelings for each other. The next day, Jae-hee, covered up in disguise, went to the supermarket to check the newspapers. The headlines were all about her love triangle. As she was leaving, she saw that Min-seok's fans had blocked the store entrance. The girl who knew Jae-hee's secret called her a monster in front of everyone. Then she and her friends tried to snatch the perfume from Jae-hee's bag. Jae-hee became furious and turned into a 900-pound warrior, ready to teach these young girls a lesson, but it was all in her head. At that moment, Min-seok arrived, wearing a helmet, to rescue Jae-hee. But he didn't stay heroic for long, as the fans quickly tore off his clothes. He grabbed Jae-hee and ran out of the store. For her safety, Min-seok decided to take Jae-hee to his mother's home. There, Jae-hee found out from Min-seok's mother that Yi-do was also her son. Yi-do and Min-seok were actually half-brothers. Jae-hee was shocked and curious about why they didn't get along. It turned out that when Yi-do had fallen into the water as a child, his mom didn't save him to protect Min-seok, who was unborn. From then on, Yi-do held deep resentment toward her and Min-seok. Over the years, their mother had felt great guilt about this. Jae-hee felt a deep sympathy for Yi-do's painful past, but she also didn't remember that she was the one who saved Yi-do. To save Yi-do and Min-seok's reputation, Jae-hee decided to take all the blame on herself. Jae-hee told the reporter that she seduced Yi-do while also dating Min-seok. Both men were victims. Later, Yi-do got a goodbye text from Jae-hee and felt heartbroken. He asked his mom where Jae-hee was, but his mom said she'd already left. Yi-do then asked Secretary Kim to find her. Without Jae-hee to cook, Yi-do had to eat out alone. Missing her so much, he had an allergic reaction after eating a bite of lobster and was rushed to the hospital. Secretary Kim ran into a 900-pound Jae-hee and told her about all of Yi-do's recent troubles. Jae-hee didn't expect her leaving would hurt him this much. She quickly transformed back to 90-pound self and hurried to the hospital to see him. Jae-hee told him she was willing to come back. Yi-do, who had been sad for days, finally smiled. When they returned home, Jae-hee took out an agreement and asked Yi-do not to have feelings for her anymore. In 3 months, she would be moving to the US. Yi-do went back to his room heartbroken. It turned out Jae-hee's perfume was running out, which meant her time was too. She didn't want Yi-do to rely on her too much. Just then, Min-seok showed up at the door, even bringing his luggage with him. Min-seok owned half of this house too. He planned to seriously pursue Jae-hee, so he decided to move in. Yi-do got angry and started wrestling with Min-seok. Suddenly, a group of reporters showed up. Jae-hee was stuck in the middle, unsure what to do. When they found out Jae-hee liked money, Min-seok brought her a cash dispenser for her to enjoy the thrill of having money. Yi-do just scoffed. While Jae-hee was showing off Min-seok's gift, Yi-do gave her a dress made of $100,000 in cash. This round, Yi-do won. The next day, Yi-do saw Min-seok and Jae-hee playing in the living room. He felt jealous and knocked Min-seok out with a pillow. That night, the three went camping. They had to share one bed, so Jae-hee slept between the two men. In the middle of the night, Min-seok suddenly woke up. As he was about to kiss Jae-hee, Yi-do woke up too. It turned out to be Yi-do's nightmare. To prevent it from happening, he pushed Jae-hee to the side and slept in the middle. In the morning, Jae-hee woke up and felt happy seeing the brothers so close. Later, at Yi-do's mother's house, she gave Jae-hee a picture of Yi-do as a kid. Jae-hee thought it looked familiar, but couldn't remember from where. She then went to a phone launch event, only to find her ex-husband worked at that company. Tae-jun sneaked into Jae-hee's dressing room. He took her phone from her bag and unlocked it easily. Now he was sure that Jae-hee was his chubby ex-wife. When Jae-hee returned, Tae-jun quickly put the phone back but accidentally pulled out her perfume. To avoid being noticed, he stuffed it into his pocket. After the event, Min Seok came to pick Jae-hee up. He even brought her a gift, a custom hairpin. Suddenly, Jae-hee's alarm went off. It was time to reapply her perfume, but she couldn't find it anywhere. She suspected her ex-husband had taken it. As the alarm kept ringing, she urgently told Min Seok to stop the car. She got out and ran into an alley, her body starting to change. Seeing something was wrong, Min Seok followed her but only saw a beggar rushing away. Thinking Jae-hee was in danger, he checked the alley, but it was a dead end. He looked down and saw a fat woman. Scared, he ran outside but felt sorry for her. The woman had no shoes, and her clothes were torn. He hurried back to the car, grabbed some clothes and slippers, and gave them to her. He even drove her near the police station. As they said goodbye, Min Seok noticed the woman was wearing the same hairpin he'd given Jae-hee. He suspected the woman was actually Jae-hee, but felt it was a crazy idea. Jae-hee told Secretary Kim helplessly that her perfume was lost. Secretary Kim got nervous because Tae-jun's company had a big celebration dinner planned, followed by Jae-hee's fan signing event. Secretary Kim explained to Yi-do that Jae-hee couldn't attend because she wasn't feeling well. Then he tried to get close to Tae-jun and took off his jacket. But Jae-hee found nothing inside. Just then, Tae-jun saw them. Jae-hee had to join the dinner as Tae-jun's wife. Yi-do was stunned to see his first love sitting across from him and didn't know what to do. Jae-hee didn't dare to look into Yi-do's eyes. Tae-jun, worried Jae-hee would embarrass him, told her to leave early. Jae-hee quickly grabbed his bag and slipped away, but there was still no perfume in it. As the fan signing got closer, Jae-hee grew more anxious. Suddenly, Yi-do called her name from behind and sadly asked why she had forgotten him. Jae-hee was shocked, not understanding how Yi-do knew her. Then Tae-jun appeared and dragged her away. He took out the perfume and threatened her with it. Jae-hee tried to grab it but accidentally hit the wall. Tae-jun grew more curious about the secret behind the perfume. He dripped some on Jae-hee's hand. Yi-do arrived in time and knocked Tae-jun out. He then noticed Jae-hee's face was changing. He thought he was seeing things. Suddenly the lights went out and thunder boomed outside. When the lights came back on, Jae-hee was gone. Yi-do and Min Seok came downstairs and saw Jae-hee taking photos with fans. Min Seok noticed the hairpin on Jae-hee's head and was so shocked he collapsed onto the ground. Later that night, Jae-hee sneaked back home and pulled out a box. She finally remembered Yi-do. The painting was something Yi-do had drawn as a kid. Jae-hee once told him he should be a designer, and she would be his model. Jae-hee felt grateful for everything Yi-do had done for her. Yi-do was confused. He didn't know the woman in front of him was his first love. Min Seok, after getting home, ran straight up to the second floor. Ever since he suspected Jae-hee could transform, he didn't know how to face her. In a dream, he and Jae-hee got married. Just as he was about to kiss her, Jae-hee turned into a chubby woman. Even Min Seok woke up and was startled when he saw Jae-hee's face. Meanwhile, Yi-do received an email from his first love, asking to meet. He was as happy as a child. He dressed up carefully and booked a fancy restaurant. Yi-do knelt on one knee and confessed to Jae-hee, who weighed 900 pounds. But the perfume's side effects were getting stronger. Jae-hee's health was getting worse. So she held back her feelings, rejected Yi-do, and told him not to meet again. Then Jae-hee transformed back to 90 pounds, planning to tell Yi-do she was his first love. But her body suddenly felt unwell, and she pushed Yi-do away and ran off. It seemed she didn't have much time left. Jae-hee found Secretary Kim and explained her situation. Secretary Kim felt guilty and regretful. He suggested checking the source of the perfume. They could get clues from the delivery company. The two went to the delivery co-op, where a worker told them this company had closed down 20 years ago. They noted down the company's information and quickly found the former owner. Jae-hee instantly recognized him as the mysterious old man who had given her the perfume. They thought they'd finally made progress. But the old man's wife said he'd had dementia for 20 years and hadn't delivered anything in ages. Their last hope was gone. Now, Jae-hee only wanted to achieve her modeling dream. After World Fashion Week, she planned to leave for good. Back home, Jae-hee confessed to Yi-do that she got close to him to become a top model. Everything she did was to use him. Hearing this, Yi-do packed his bags and moved to a hotel. In the days that followed, Even when they saw each other at work, they acted like strangers. One evening, after training, Jae-hee suddenly had a nosebleed. Unfortunately, Tae-jun found her there. He pushed her against the wall, and Jae-hee fainted. Tae-jun then drove, planning to take her to a small, dark room. Just then, Jink-young saw everything, jumped into a taxi, and followed them. On the way, she called Yi-do to tell him Jae-hee had been taken by her father. Yi-do rushed over. Tae-jun brought Jae-hee to his company, and Jink-young saw his car outside. The door was locked. Yi-do grabbed a chair and broke the glass. Just as Tae-jun was about to succeed, Yi-do appeared and knocked him out. He carried Jae-hee to the hospital, but he felt heavier and heavier until he couldn't carry her anymore. To his surprise, Jae-hee transformed into his first love. He brought her to the car and guessed that Jae-hee was his first love. But he felt this idea was too crazy. He stepped out of the car to cool off, but Jae-hee took the chance to run away. At the intersection, she ran into Min Seok. To avoid Yi-do, Jae-hee quickly got into Min Seok's car. Surprised, Min Seok awkwardly asked if she was really Jae-hee. She admitted it and urged him to drive her to her company. Jae-hee searched through her entire closet but couldn't find the perfume. Without it, Jae-hee didn't know where else to go. At the same time, Yi-do went completely crazy. One was the person he loved now, and the other was his first love. One cruelly abandoned him, and the other didn't recognize him for 20 years. Even worse, he got dumped by 2 women, and they were the same person. Secretary Kim found Jae-hee's lost perfume and phone at the scene. He gave the perfume to Jae-hee. She immediately put it on. But Yi-do saw everything. He held Jae-hee and kept saying it was okay if she came back. Then he called Secretary Kim outside. Secretary Kim confessed everything. He said Jae-hee kept it from him because when she ran out of perfume, she would die. That's why she was so cold to him. Yi-do was shocked. He decided to save Jae-hee. That night, Yi-do and Jae-hee went home together. When Jae-hee was about to use the perfume, Yi-do stopped her. He told her not to use it anymore. No matter what she looked like, he would still love her. But then the alarm clock suddenly rang. Jae-hee was about to transform. Then the two felt a bit awkward, but they were still happy. Jae-hee stopped going to work and became a full-time housewife. Yi-do tried to find the same perfume by asking an expert, but he had no luck. He even had his mom bring a bunch of perfumes, but that also failed. When Jae-hee learned that Yi-do didn't find the perfume, she didn't feel too disappointed. She just felt that this miracle wouldn't happen to her again. But seeing Yi-do so determined, she didn't say much more. Suddenly, Jae-hee fainted and was in a coma for a week. Yi-do picked up the bottle of perfume and noticed something on the bottom of it, as if he remembered something. He opened the perfume and dropped 2 drops on Jae-hee's hand. Soon, Jae-hee woke up and they embraced and cried. 20 years ago, Yi-do found a meteorite by accident. When he stood up to go home, he saw a glowing house not far away. Curiosity made him walk over. It was a miracle perfume workshop. The owner was the same old man who delivered packages to Jae-hee. Yi-do smelled the perfume and planned to make a bottle for his beloved Jae-hee. He wrote a love message on the bottom of the bottle. He gave the meteorite to the old man and asked him to put it in the bottle. The old man asked Yi-do why he wanted to make this perfume. Yi-do looked down and silently made a wish, hoping Jae-hee would love him. In the end, the perfume reached Jae-hee after 20 years, but both of them were very worried about what would happen when the perfume ran out. Then Min Seok came back. It seemed he did not care about Jae-hee's special qualities too. Yi-do got very angry and pushed Min Seok away. He warned Min Seok not to touch his sister-in-law. The next day, Jae-hee and Yi-do decided to go to the perfume workshop from 20 years ago to find out the truth. But it had changed a lot. Yi-do started crying. He was afraid that once the perfume ran out, Jae-hee would leave him. They promised to spend every moment together for the rest of their days. At night, Yi-do couldn't sleep, so he hugged his pillow and went to Jae-hee's door. He was scared to disturb her, but Jae-hee had the same idea. The two looked at each other and felt very happy. They fell asleep with their faces close together, listening to each other's breaths. The World Fashion Week finally arrived. Jae-hee always dreamed of wearing Yi-do's designs on the world stage. This was their childhood promise. Jae-hee put on some perfume, unsure if there was enough left to last a week. Suddenly, Tae-jun barged into the changing room. He was caught embezzling money and thought Jae-hee had reported him. At that moment, Yi-do came to find Jae-hee. He heard the noise and rushed in. Yi-do was very angry, but when he saw Tae-jun take the perfume, he could only try to calm him down. But Tae-jun didn't care about Jae-hee and smashed the perfume. He ran out, but was caught by the police. The perfume could have lasted another week, but now it was all gone. Luckily, Jae-hee had just put on some perfume, so she still had 12 hours to safely finish the show. But Yi-do didn't care about World Fashion Week. With Jae-hee's comfort, Yi-do began to relax. After Jae-hee's kidnapping, Jink-young knew that Jae-hee was her mother. She took out a USB drive, saying it had evidence of her dad's crime, but she wasn't sure if she should do this. Jae-hee hoped she could follow her heart, but she felt sad that her daughter had to go through these at such a young age. Jae-hee was getting ready for the show. Their dreams were about to come true. Yi-do told Jae-hee he had two dreams. One was for Jae-hee to wear his designed clothes. The other he planned to tell her after the show. Recently, Jae-hee was very happy and satisfied. She spent time with her loved one and stood on the World Fashion Week stage with her daughter. After the show, Yi-do went on stage. His second dream was to propose to Jae-hee. He happily took out his phone and called Jae-hee to come on stage. But the 12 hours were up, and Jae-hee didn't know what would happen. When she opened the door, a bright white light shone in. Jae-hee disappeared from the dressing room, leaving Yi-do alone. Jae-hee arrived at the mysterious perfume workshop from years ago. She met the mysterious old man again. He explained everything to her. He was a system that helps humans. He borrowed the appearance of a delivery man to help Jae-hee. He sent her the perfume made by Yi-do 20 years ago during her dark times and arranged for Jae-hee and Yi-do to meet again. After hearing this, Jae-hee hurried back to Yi-do. The old man asked if she could live confidently this time. Yi-do was a perfect man. If Jae-hee showed up in front of him looking like she weighed 900 pounds, she wouldn't have the courage to love him. Jae-hee hesitated. Because Jae-hee disappeared, Yi-do planned to eat walnuts to commit suicide. Luckily, his mom arrived just in time to stop him. Yi-do said he didn't know the meaning of living without Jae-hee. His mom comforted him, saying Jae-hee would return after some time. She warned him that if Jae-hee came back and found Yi-do gone, that would be a real tragedy. Hearing this gave Yi-do a reason to live. In the days that followed, Yi-do started learning to cook, as if Jae-hee had never disappeared and was always by his side. He remained optimistic because he believed Jae-hee would come back one day. A year later, on Yi-do's birthday, he received a birthday gift sent by Jae-hee. It turned out she had sent it a year ago. She knew she might not live to see this day, so she bought the gift during their visit to the planetarium and put it in the wishing mailbox. Recalling the past, Yi-do was heartbroken. He returned to the planetarium and prayed sincerely to the sky, hoping Jae-hee would come back soon. It seemed heaven felt his sincerity and sent Jae-hee back. During this year, Jae-hee worked hard to regain her confidence so she could return to Yi-do. Yi-do took out a ring he made himself. No matter if Jae-hee was thin or heavy, she could wear it.